years-long plan to win my college crush finally worked. My husband's reaction ruined my plans. I don't know how to feel about this right now. I lost both my husband and college crush. It's all my fault because I was indecisive and didn't know what was best for me. If I had known, I would have made the right choice. I should have let what was in the past be in the past and move on. But I didn't. Instead, I let that get hold of me and I threw my marriage under the bus for it. And now, my life is just meaningless and no way further from here because I don't know where and how to start from here. I lost everything. Not just my husband and college crush alone, but my entire life as a whole. My business has been shut down by my husband. I once owned a cosmetic store which was opened by my husband, but now it is gone. All the savings I had to restock my store in the coming months had been swiped out from the account. Right now, my accounts are empty because my husband swiped it out just to get back at me. Not only that, my husband also filed for a divorce, which I'm trying my best not to let happen. Before I go further with what brought me here, I would like to introduce myself and my husband to you guys. Redditors, my name is Priska. I am 29 years old. My husband's name is Lucas. He is 33 years old. Lucas and I have been married for 6 years now. We have known each other since we were in college. Yes, guys, we were college mates, but never friends or dated. Back then, Lucas had always wanted to be my boyfriend, but I didn't accept his proposal. Most times he would buy me gifts and send flowers to me, but I would have them returned. Sometimes I gave them out to my friends then and warned him to stop sending me gifts, but Lucas never listened. He always tells me how much he loves me and how he wants us to date. I never liked him, and I didn't stop showing him how I didn't like him. Lucas never takes no for an answer. He always goes for what he wants and makes sure to get it at all costs. He had loved me since the first year in college, and he promised to marry me. Back then, anytime Lucas said that to me, I would laugh and tell him that he was being delusional. I honestly found that really annoying, and he knew that. But that didn't stop him from chasing after me. I was really interested in Lucas. Then I had a college crush named Brian. For me, Brian was the most handsome guy in the world. Brian was studying a different course from Lucas and I. I fell in love with Brian the first day I set my eyes on him. I met him at the library and didn't know how to control myself when I first met him. Brian ticked all the boxes for me and everything that I wanted in a guy. He had a great body physique, handsome, book smart, neat, and speaks very well. My friends knew how much I loved Brian, but they never liked him because of how he was always turning me down. They liked Brian because they always get to have the gifts and flowers he sends to me. I warned them not to say a word to Lucas about Brian, which they agreed to. I told them that Lucas doesn't need to know about Brian. Yes, I never liked Lucas, but then I didn't want to chase him away. I knew that if he had known that I wanted someone else, he would have left. At that time, I also didn't like seeing any other lady with Lucas. That made me jealous and uncomfortable. So guys, it was more like a complicated situation. I didn't like Lucas enough to date him then, and I also didn't want to see him with another lady. Brian, my college crush on the other hand, wasn't giving me the attention that I wanted. He was always snubbing me and was not even giving me a chance to talk to him. I was very obsessed with him, and I always stalked him. My friends would always tell me to forget about him and give Lucas a chance. They told me that Brian doesn't like me or care about me. At that time, I didn't think that what they were telling me was true. I had the impression that they were advising me not to chase after Brian and focus on Lucas because of the gifts they get. I didn't know that they were saying that for my own best interest, but I didn't listen, and Brian also didn't stop snubbing me. Lucas kept on coming and bringing gifts. I didn't know what I wanted then. I kept going after someone that didn't even like me, hoping that he will with time. But that didn't even happen before we left college. Guess what, guys? On the day of graduation, I planned on hugging and kissing Brian. I didn't know how that was going to happen, but I wanted to do it. So guys, I kept an eye on him all through the time everyone was taking pictures together. At some, he left the crowd, and I followed him and discovered that he was heading to the bathroom. I thought of using that as an advantage to get him. I waited for him in the hallway so he could finish. When he was done, I pulled him over to a corner and I tried pining my lips on his, but he quickly pushed me away and told me to get hold of myself. Brian warned me not to come any closer to him. It was there, Brian told me, that I wasn't up to his standards and asked me to work on myself. That meant that I wasn't up to the kind of ladies he would go on a date with. I felt really embarrassed by what he said, but I didn't let a single tear out. At that moment, I promised to work on myself and be the kind of lady that could go out with someone like Brian. What Brian told me specifically that he doesn't like about me was the way I dressed and how I wasn't looking like a hot lady. After that encounter with Brian, I was extremely sad for days. I told my friends that I needed a change of wardrobe. My desire for it made it so suspicious. They suspected that something was wrong but couldn't place it. So guys, after graduation, I changed the way I dressed and had a whole new makeover. Lucas was really impressed and thought that I was doing all of it for him. For Brian, I didn't let what he said pull me down completely. Yes, I was hurt, but I made up my mind to look good for him. Brian stayed back in the city for a few months after graduation. He lived with his grandparents and he thought of spending some time with them before going back to his parents in another city. I used that opportunity to go to his place, but he kept turning me down even after having a makeover. I didn't know what exactly was his problem with the way I dressed. Even after changing, he still didn't like it. Throughout the period he was around, he kept avoiding me. After a few months, he left, and I didn't hear from him or any of his friends. I felt hurt, and it took months before moving. It felt like a heartbreak, even though we didn't date then. That period was very difficult for me. I felt like my world was coming to an end. Brian didn't speak to me before he left, or messaged me. His social media account was deactivated, and I couldn't reach him anywhere. Lucas, on the other hand, kept coming. He didn't know what was wrong, but he knew that I wasn't okay. My friends and I didn't mention any of it to him. Gradually at that time, I started getting over Brian and was giving Lucas a chance. I know what's on y'all mind right now. You all would be thinking that I used Lucas to heal, right? Well, in all honesty, yes, I did. I never really liked Lucas that much. He was rich and good-looking, but not like Brian. So guys, I started opening up to Lucas at that period because I needed someone to find solace in. I opened up not like telling him what was wrong then, but letting him into my space and not being harsh like when we were in college. Lucas at that time was all bent on being in a relationship with me. I told him to give me some time to think about it, which he agreed to. After a few weeks, I accepted, but I told him that we should start off as friends, and within a month, we started dating officially. Lucas didn't stop giving me gifts or taking me to expensive shoppings. I felt really special, and I was able to heal from Brian, but I didn't stop thinking about him. So guys, after dating for 2 years, Brian asked me to be his wife, which I accepted. We had a small but intimate wedding. It was between family and close friends. Our guests weren't more than 50. Yes, guys, that was how small it was. For me then, I just didn't want a big crowd. Lucas told me to do whatever that I wanted, which I did, and he was fine with how everything played out. So guys, after 3 years of marriage, we relocated to another city because of Lucas's job. After a few months of settling in, Lucas opened a cosmetic store for me just to keep me busy and not being idle at home. I loved it, and I was very happy that he got me the store. Honestly, guys, Lucas is really an intentional man. He made sure to make me feel comfortable and not have to worry about anything. We were living fine then. Both Lucas and I were doing really well at our jobs. Lucas took care of the household bills and mine also. All the money I was making then was invested back to my cosmetic store. Lucas never asked me for a dime to pay any bills. All the money I made from that period up till this time was swiped out by Lucas. That was one of his ways of dealing with me. I didn't know that he could be this wicked and heartless. He doesn't care if I feed or not or need money for anything. So guys, after 3 years of settling in this new city, everything changed. At this time, it wasn't for good because I lost my husband in marriage. But before everything turned sour, my husband had told me about his boss hiring a few people at the office, and a welcoming party would be held for them. They do that every time new employees come on board after a month of working. Each staff member was to bring a +1. Lucas and I usually attend any time there is new employment, but this year's party was different. So guys, I wouldn't want to bore you all with everything that happened because it was actually a long story, but I will try to make it short. Long story short, one of the new employees turned out to no other person but Brian. Yes, guys, Brian. I was also shocked when I saw him. Even though it had been 8 years since I saw him, he didn't change that much. My husband, on the other hand, didn't know that I know Brian. In fact, both men didn't know each other. At that moment, I tried everything to talk to him again. All the feelings I had for him suddenly came back, and at that time, it was very different. Of course, it's been years, and I couldn't stop thinking about him. I kid you guys not when I said that I worked on myself. I changed my dressing and how I style my hair just to look different from how I was in college. Trust me when I say that there was a great improvement in it. Lucas would always ask why I changed and usually tell me that I don't need to go through that stress to look good for me. He also used to tell me how he liked me just the way I was in college. But he didn't know that I was doing all of those things to win Brian over. It got to a point that I started going to the gym just to keep fit. Well, my efforts weren't in vain because I added good shape. After I got married, I didn't stop looking for Brian on social media. I just couldn't get over him completely then. And when I got to see him at the welcoming party, I felt so happy. I didn't even know how to curtail my joy. Somehow, I was able to meet Brian. Guys, Brian couldn't recognize me at first. I had to tell him that it was Priska from college before he could remember. Well, I didn't expect him to recognize me that quickly because I knew that I had changed. So guys, out of excitement, I hugged Brian, and at this time, he didn't push me away. I felt really happy, but I composed myself. We talked for a while about life after college and his job. He asked me what I was doing at the welcoming party and if I had come along with my boyfriend or husband. Immediately, I told him that I wasn't married or seeing anyone and that I came because a friend invited me to come. Yes, I lied, but that was the only option for me. I couldn't ruin it, not when Brian was beginning to check me out. I lost count of how many times he complimented the way I was looking. I felt really happy. After some time, we exchanged contacts and Brian told me that he would call me later that night and he hugged me before leaving. At that moment, I felt on top of the world. The feeling was different and I was happy. I never would have thought that Brian would get to hug me or even exchange contacts with me one day. My excitement was showing all over me. Lucas didn't understand what was making me happy that day. When we got home, Lucas went to bed immediately because he was tired. I, on the other hand, was waiting patiently for Brian's call. After an hour or two, Brian called and we talked for a long time on the phone. I kept giggling and laughing all through the conversation. It felt like we were dating and the relationship was new. Guys, Brian and I went to bed really late that night. Well, it was worth it. The next day, Brian asked me to come over to the office to know where he was working, and I accepted. Well, before then, I hardly visited Lucas in the office or even brought him lunch. But for Brian, I didn't mind. I kept on going to the office to see him. Well, it was a big private company with lots of workers working in different departments. Both Brian and Lucas worked in different departments, and it was hard for Lucas to see me. I usually visit Brian almost disguised so as to avoid running into any of Lucas's friends. That went on for some time before one day when Lucas caught Brian and I kissing. Apparently Brian had asked me out, and I accepted. To make it official, Brian pulled me over and kissed me. I didn't stop him because I also wanted to kiss him too. At that time, we had just gotten out of the elevator and we stood in the hallway at the top floor kissing. I could swear at that time that nobody was going to come to the top floor for anything, but guess what, guys? It wasn't just anyone at the top floor that day, but Lucas, my husband. He yelled my name, and I turned to see who could that be. You all needed to see the shock on my face when I turned and saw Lucas standing. Brian asked what was the issue, but I couldn't say anything at that time. Immediately, Lucas stormed out, and I told Brian not to worry about anything. We hugged and we went downstairs together. I went to the store to pick up a few things before heading back home. After what happened at the office, I wasn't that bothered, actually. I had waited for that moment of kissing Brian, and I didn't feel bad for doing that. In fact, I kept thinking about the kiss more than what happened after. Brian called to check up on me, and I told him that I was fine. He asked if I knew Lucas, and I denied and told him that he was a stalker, and he didn't push further. So guys, when I got home, Lucas had been waiting for me. Immediately I got inside, he didn't waste time to ask me why I was shamelessly kissing one of the new employees at his office. He asked how long I had been coming to the office without his knowledge. I kept mute and didn't say anything, and I proceeded to go into the bedroom, but Lucas pulled me back and yelled that he demanded an answer from me and that I shouldn't dare walk out on him. At that moment, I told him that there was nothing to say and that the guy he saw me kissing had been my college crush for years, even before I met him. I told him how I still loved Brian, even though he had rejected me in college. I also told Lucas that I still had feelings for Brian, and I wasn't going to trade anything for it. Lucas was very surprised and marveled by all the things I was spilling out. He couldn't believe that I never loved him, and I only agreed to be with him just to get over Brian and have my bills paid. Lucas didn't say a word after that, and he left. After that day, Lucas didn't speak to me. For days he was giving me the silent treatment. I, on the other hand, kept on meeting with Brian. Little did I know that Lucas was making silent moves just to get back at me. 4 days after Lucas and I had the heated argument, Brian stopped picking my calls or reply to my messages. I got really worried about it. Later that night, Brian sent me a breakup text telling me how he got suspended from work all because of me. Apparently, Lucas got hold of the CCTV footage of Brian and I kissing at the top floor and had it forwarded to his boss. Lucas is very close to his boss, and he also gets to benefit from a lot of things other workers couldn't, like having private dinners together and swimming. They basically share a close relationship. Lucas made use of that influence and got Brian suspended. Brian got really angry and stopped talking to me. As at the time I discovered that Lucas wasn't at home. When he got back, I made sure to yell at him for doing that to Brian. Guys, I almost lost my senses at that moment. Lucas watched me display my madness and asked me if I was done. He asked me to get out of his house and go be with Brian. Immediately, I told him that I would gladly be with Brian, rather than living with someone I don't love. I went to the room and packed my bags and left. I went over to Brian's place thinking that he would accept me, but he didn't. I met him drunk and wasted because he had finished drinking. He told me he couldn't be with a married woman, a liar, or cheater. I tried explaining why I lied to him, but he didn't give me a chance and pushed me out of his house. Guys, I spent the night at Brian's front door, and he didn't care to come out to check on me. He knew that I was there. He stayed locked up throughout. It was then that I realized that I have messed up big time with Lucas. I picked up my things and went back to Lucas to apologize, but he made sure to let the gatekeeper embarrass me by throwing me out. He told me that he had filed for a divorce and I should be ready to sign it when it's ready. He told me that he had gotten my store locked down and I shouldn't bother going there. Guys, it's been 2 weeks now and Lucas hasn't changed his mind. The divorce papers would be ready in 2 weeks, but I'm not ready to sign it. I have tried apologizing to Lucas, but he is not ready to forgive me. He ruined my plans of being with Brian and made sure that Brian lost his job. He also made me stop going to my store to work and earn money so I will not be able to take care of myself. It hasn't been easy since I left Lucas, but I hope he takes me back. Update. Hey Redditors, it's me again. It's been a while since I last updated you guys here. I know it's been 5 months now. Well, it took this long because I wanted to get over everything and be sure I could come here and say everything and not year up. These past few months haven't been easy because I was trying to forgive myself for actually being stupid to have chosen Brian over Lucas. I realized that Brian and I aren't destined to be together, but it's unfortunate that it was too late to have realized that. The divorce papers were ready after 2 weeks, like I mentioned in my last update, and I signed them with swollen eyes because I was really emotional. Lucas didn't give our relationship a second chance, and we both went our separate ways. Unfortunately, I left the marriage with nothing, not even a single penny. My own savings was swiped out, and there was nothing I could do. My cosmetic store wasn't given back to me either. You all can see that I left empty. As for Brian, we never spoke after that day he asked me out of his house. There were no calls or texts to at least apologize for how he treated me. I'm still hurt by how he treated me, and it will take time to actually forgive him for that. To think that I was so stupid to have left my marriage for us only for him to break up with me. I was really stupid, there's no doubt about that. Writing this right now has brought back a lot of memories, which is making me so emotional. I hate the fact that I was the one that ended my marriage. I let my college crush make me feel less of myself right from college and still made me leave my marriage because of him. I hope I don't make the mistake of loving someone that doesn't care about me again.